On July 12, 2024, Japan's Minister of Defense, Kihara Minoru, released the annual Defense of Japan White Paper to the public. The paper began with a statement highlighting the unprecedented global crisis since the end of World War II. As a result, Japan finds itself in the most complex post-war security environment, and the Ministry of Defense and the Japanese Self-Defense Force are committed to protecting the Japanese people, territory, including its airspace and territorial waters. Mr. Minoru's dramatic words don't exaggerate the situation Japan finds itself in, not just in the surrounding seas, but globally. North Korea and its nuclear and missile programs are immediate threats to Japan. Its dictator regularly threatens Japan's security, as well as violating its airspace with occasional missile launches that travel over its territory. The other threat is Russia, which continues its operations in the contested Sakhalin Islands to the north of Japan, as well as its ongoing war in Ukraine, which is disrupting and eroding regional security. China's aggressiveness and territorial claims in the region pose the greatest threat to Japan. The Japanese Defense Ministry is deeply concerned, as this is the most complex situation Japan has faced since the war. Japan is concerned about a number of security issues related to North Korea and Russia that are a result of the international response to the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine, which is in its third year. Russia has had to seek global allies to evade the sanctions imposed by the West and persist in its war. North Korea has been an enabler for Russia by directly selling artillery rounds and ballistic missiles for use in Ukraine. The North Koreans have also volunteered up to 4 Army engineering brigades to operate in occupied Ukraine with the goal of repairing war damage. Russia and North Korea have also signed a defense and security agreement that requires both sides to provide assistance to each other in case of a war. Russia has promised to send advanced weapons to North Korea, but since it relies on North Korea, Iran, and China for finished defense goods and dual-use items, it is unlikely that Russia will be able to provide much more than token support. The Japanese and South Koreans are concerned about the pact between North Korea and Russia. They believe Russia can only provide a limited number of tangible goods to North Korea in exchange for its war support, but what Russia can offer North Korea is most concerning. The concern lies in Russia's potential to provide North Korea with qualitative assistance to enhance its nuclear and rocket programs, thereby propelling its forces significantly ahead of their current trajectory. This will mean that the North Korean threat can be substantially greater and faster than the security assessment of 2023. China is by far the biggest threat to Japan and the region as a whole. The white paper underscores the security challenges posed by China's aggressive behavior. The biggest area of concern is the Chinese aggressiveness and threats toward Taiwan, which continue to grow. The Japanese believe that any Chinese invasion of Taiwan will eventually lead to a war with China. The Japanese islands of the Ryukyu Arc, the closest of which are about 70 miles or 115 kilometers from Taiwan, would likely need to seize some of these islands to shield their invasion from potential Japanese and American responses from Okinawa and the main Japanese islands. China's claims in the South China Sea are a threat to Japanese trade, and China and Japan have several disputed island claims outside of the South China Sea. An aggressive China and its threats to Taiwan pose a direct security threat to Japan, one that Japan cannot ignore. Japan, with all these threats, has identified 3 fundamental objectives in the white paper in support of its national security strategy of Japan, national defense strategy, and defense buildup program policies. The first is to improve its fundamental defense capabilities, prioritizing creating a standoff missile capability and an integrated air and missile defense. This includes the purchase of US-made Tomahawk cruise missiles and a ground-launched Type 12 surface-to-ship missile system. The paper argues that the expedited production of Aegis system naval ships will improve their anti-air and anti-missile capabilities. The lessons from the war in Ukraine have demonstrated the importance of missile and air defense, as well as the use of standalone missiles against an enemy. Japan could use the Aegis system ships to defend against missile attacks from both North Korea and China, and station the Type 12 system on its southern islands to prevent any Chinese invasion from Taiwan or attempts to close the South China Sea. China is a much more powerful and nuclear-armed adversary, and Japan readily admits that its security relies on security partnerships in the region, and this is the second point of the white paper objectives. Japan asserts that the US-Japanese security alliance is its cornerstone, and it is actively upgrading the alliance treaty to meet the demands of the modern battlefield. Japan is also a NATO IP4 member and a partner in the EUCU's Pillar 2 development program. Japan has also made strides to mend its relationship with South Korea and has formed a trilateral agreement with the US and South Korea to improve intelligence sharing over North Korea's missile program. This will most likely be the foundation for closer cooperation in the general security situation in the Western Pacific. Japan is also partnering with the Philippines to improve interoperability and Philippine capabilities to support the free navigation of the West Philippine Sea against China. The final issue is the realization that, despite being a highly advanced society in technology, Japan still recognizes the critical role of manpower. In 2010, Japan's population peaked at 128.5 million, and current estimates place it at 126.4 million. At 48.4 years, its population is the oldest in the world and continues to age. The military requires younger adults, and they continue to be more and more scarce. The Japanese military must also contend with the competition from private businesses in Japan, who are vying for the same workforce and often offer higher salaries. The U.S. occupation after World War II pacified Japan, eliminating much of its martial tradition, making it more challenging for the Japanese military to connect with young people. Japan faces significant challenges in recruitment and retention, and the successful execution of the best created plans is contingent on the ability to recruit into the military. As anticipated, the Chinese Foreign Ministry criticized the Japanese White Paper, citing its inclusion of elements China cautions against pursuing in the region. The Chinese Foreign Ministry accuses the formation of alliances as a Cold War mentality and asserts that China should handle all issues in the Western Pacific bilaterally without introducing foreign elements into the region. Despite the Chinese accusations and its lack of responsibility for creating the security situation in the region, this is a correct, high-level assessment of the Japanese security situation. The question is whether Japan can fulfill the goals laid out in the document. The alliances are not an issue as Japan has established itself as a key economic and security partner in the region and is able to maintain stable relations outside of China and North Korea. The real issue is the recruitment challenges, even with the introduction of ever-improving automated systems, as well as whether it can stay on track with its defense production and procurement goals.